Welcome back to the Worldview Minute. I'm Pastor Levi Secord of Christ Bible Church in St. Paul. As we're wrapping up this idea of work here, the question comes up, what do we think about things like recreation, video games, sports, and athletics? And as we talk about that, I want to frame that both in the question of life now and the new creation. Because I've said before that work, as we know it, work will change, but it will also continue into the new creation. Contrary to some of the popular beliefs out there, heaven, or the new creation, the new heavens and the new earth, is not just one giant worship service where we spend the whole time singing. And in fact, we will have this full orbed totality of worship throughout our entire life. And we're going to live in a physical new earth that is created as heaven and earth joined together again. And we will live out the original and perfect design that God had for humanity. So, what was work like in the garden? What will it be like in the new garden, the new heavens and the new earth? What does all of that then have to do with things like sports and video games and recreation? So let's pause here. Let's think about. Let's ask the question: why are sports fun? Why is recreation fun? What is appealing to things like video games? Because while we talk about recreation as opposed to vocational or occupational work, recreational activities are work. Every single one of them. Think about what your favorite activity is to do, whether it's bike riding, mountain biking, going fishing, going for a run, playing beach volleyball, going for a swim, whatever that is, playing board games with your family. All of those things are work. All of those things are ways in which we bring dominion, order, and experience the goodness of God's creation. And so, what makes them appealing to us is that we are hardwired as humans who bear the image of God to work like God does. We spend the vast majority of our life working, whether that be vocationally or through things like recreation. Now, this age, unlike a lot of prior ages, has much more time for recreation. But when we think about working into and for eternity, sometimes we get pushback because people are like, I don't like my job. Right? And all of us have had bad days at work, so we feel the reality of the curse at work, where everything is frustrating and it doesn't go as it should. And we've also had the opposite happen, where we've had really good days at work, where it seems like everything goes right and we taste the reward and the goodness of work as it is hardwired into creation. Why are recreational activities like sports and video games appealing to us? Because it's part of what it means to be human. It's part of what it means to be human to work. You can't escape it. And so, things like sports and video games are really simulated work. Right? You think about baseball. Like baseball's like not one of my favorite sports, but it's a fun sport. Like somebody created it with its own rules, its own creational sphere, and its own creational mandate. Here's a ball, and the one team is going to try as best as they can to throw that ball past you while some guy takes a big stick and swings at it as hard as he can to try to hit it past your defenders and run around these bases. It's actually kind of silly when you think about it, just like any other sport. But what we have here is a rules set down by the creator of that game. And then this is what it means to be successful in this arena. This is what it means to have dominion. And at the end of the game, we know who wins. I think that's one of the more appealing things about sports, video games, is that we know who is successful and who isn't. It's clear. It's black and white. One team wins, one team loses, unless it's hockey or soccer, and sometimes teams tie. Right. What we have then is a clear creational sphere in which there are clear rules for dominion, and we live that out and we recreate. We enjoy it. It's largely fun. Why is that? Because we're humans made in the image of God, the God who works. This is part of what it means to be humans. Video games present a different activity for us. You have a completely simulated fake world. We are creators, sub-creators. God is the one creator. Like him, we like to create things. We create our own world with its own world building and its own mission and its own goal, and then we go out and we try to fulfill it. In video games, if you don't succeed, you can hit the reset button or go back to your last saved game and you try again. This is part of the allure. It's fun because we know if we're being successful or not. We're fulfilling part of what it means to be a human, at least in a simulated way. And then it's non-threatening. It's non-threatening to us because if we fail, it's not really failing, and we can just start over again. My basketball coach used to say to us that we don't really understand this generation that you can't just hit the restart button in life. And he was harping on how video games can be dangerous. And so when we look at sports, video games, and even recreation, there's always the threat of anything good that's within creation becoming an idol. And so there's this real temptation to it, but there's also inherent good to these things. Now, video games have dangers, but what we can have, especially in things like sports, is a chance to put training wheels, especially I think on young men. We put training wheels on them so that they learn certain things about real life. Here is a way to work out hard work, sacrifice, teamwork, overcoming obstacles and challenges, what it means to succeed in life, how you should handle failure in life. All of those things are wrapped up in this subdominion sphere that we have through things like sports. So I think they have a potential good. So when we look at these things, they're not inherently wrong, but they do have a tendency towards idolatry. And that brings us to the peril side of the equation. There's both promise in recreation. We experience the goodness of God. There's also peril, and that it can become idolatrous, and also in that a way to escape real life. This is really hard for young men, particularly when it comes to things like video games. Video games, you have this chance to escape into a reality, to pretend like, and even feed your idea that like I'm actually successful. Look at all these badges I've got. Look at all these bad guys I killed. Look at all these things I've done. And I simulate a life instead of living a real incarnational life. Sorry about that. And so video games, not inherently wrong, but we have to recognize, especially as parents, the temptation for young men to live in the safety zone and then not to become real men living in the real world. It's an epidemic in our current age. And so we have both promise and peril in these things. So now that we see what it's like in this age, what does this then tell us about what it was like for work in the garden and what it will be like in work in the new creation? If you have a favorite recreational activity, whether it be a sport, a hobby, bike riding, fishing, whatever it is, going for walks on the sandy beach, all of those things are work. You enjoy them, you feel rejuvenated by them and refreshed. What you get there is a taste of what work was supposed to be like before the fall and what work will be like after the new creation. Your favorite recreational activity on its best day is but a mere shadow of what it will be like to work in the new heavens and the new earth. All that joy, pleasure, fun that you get, and reward that you get from experiencing that even with other people, that is but a taste of what work was supposed to be like and what it will be like again in the new heavens and the new earth. When we take a step back and we think about the Christian worldview and what it has to say to us that work is good, but it has been cursed, we can then see in our best days and in our best moments what work will be like in the new heavens and the new earth. It's not something you have to fear and dread. It's not going to be like Monday morning. It is going to be like that best recreational experience you have ever had, bringing order and enjoying the goodness of God's creation to the fullest extent. What we experience in this age is but a faint taste of what it will be like then. This is the joy of the Christian worldview. We can look at what was in creation, how it's been bent now, and then what it will be like in the new creation. And work is like that. Work is intrinsic to what it means to bear the image of God and to be like Him. And we will bring that into all eternity, and it will be far better than anything we experience in this life today. I encourage you to like, comment, and share this video as we continue to build the Christian worldview, applying it to all of life, 1 minute at a time.